Jamie?
Is everybody ready? Is everybody ready? Are we ready?
Morning. My name is Paul Dalzell, and I am the worship coordinator of this, the Unitarian Universalist congregation. Welcome, all of you, our members, our friends, and if this is your first time here, we welcome you and thank you for joining us today. We are the place, as a wise man once told me, if you don't feel you fit in anywhere else, you belong here. We come together as a community to do good and to be better. To do good, a part of our belief system is that collective social justice work is crucial to who we are as a religious people. To be better, to develop ourselves to be better humans, kinder, gentler, and more open. Unitarian Universalism is non-creedal, deliberately pluralist, and unambiguously and unapologetically progressive. We find inspiration and wisdom from wherever we can find it, from parables, paganism, and pride. What God or gods we believe in matters less than what we do in our faith. We believe there's a rainbow of genders. We believe that actions can be illegal, but people are not. As Bishop Marianne Benet said at the National Prayer Breakfast Tuesday before last, we're scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts at hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, and congregations. May we have the strength and courage to take action and honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other. Please know that we welcome you, whoever you are.
We welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you.
Today's service is being live streamed on Zoom. It will then be available for viewing shortly after it ends on YouTube. Another announcement, the Roots and Shoots Religious Exploration Program today will wrap up their project, and each student will tell the group about a UU hero and how each transformed, which reflects the UU shared value of transformation. And this Thursday, February 6th, is Spyro Moongrove's Drum Circle. Come join in on some rhythmic drumming that is good for the soul. The drum circle starts at 7 p.m. Everyone is welcome. There will be extra instruments to use if you don't have a drum. We hope to see you there. And also a last-minute announcement. There is some food left over from yesterday's Spyro Moongrove potluck, embolic potluck, which, even though this is not potluck Sunday, there's cake, there's other stuff available after the service. And as Maria lights our chalice, please join me in reading the words in your order of service. Symbol of light and knowledge, symbol of warmth and freedom, we light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. Please rise in body, spirit, and voice as you are able for our Song for All, number 212, Circle.
You know, every time Sarah speaks here, we sing this song, but it's not because of Sarah speaking, it's because it fits the service, and Sarah can thank her mother Deborah for that. So.
Sister
may notice a change in your order of service. Rather than joys and sorrows, we now have time of sharing. We, Don, myself, and the worship committee, have talked about re-envisioning, thank you, this decades-old tradition into something more meaningful, a check-in, a time to share where you are, what you are feeling. I think keeping it somewhat anonymous has its advantages. We've tried bringing people up to speak before, and I don't know if y'all noticed this, but you like to talk a lot. Didn't work. So let's keep it anonymous for now, although it may evolve in the future. We come to this sanctuary, whether in person or virtually, to connect with our community, sharing our joys, our celebrations, our sorrows, our concerns, our peace, our needs helps our community become closer and stronger. A close, strong community is what we all need right now. So a joy I have is a joy that I've been running for a minute now, a joy of taking action, whether by helping to reduce harm among our most vulnerable neighbors, or all the other ways we are able. Just doing something brings joy. We went to the Charleston Can't Wait meeting. The city councilors set a shining example of how a government can actually run. And the embolic ritual was a blast. A big thank you to UUC and Spiral Moon Grove for hosting it. On the other side, please send happy thoughts, vibes, prayers, and good feelings to Missy in her time of need. Excuse me. Someone's sister in Florida tested positive for avian flu. Please send healing protective energy her way for a speedy recovery. And great sadness for the death of dear, funny Paul Flaherty, Becky's husband. Paul helped put together our sound system, that whole big box over there, probably close to 20 years ago. And we have sadness for the state of the nation. And another running one I have is for all those who are houseless, and for the hearts of those who condemn them and make their lives harder. And for our friends and neighbors who may be facing deportation in the coming days. Let's hold them in our hearts and do all we can to keep them safe. And for all our queer friends and family who are facing discrimination, whose very existence they have tried to negate with the stroke of a pen by both state and federal officials. Please know you matter to us, you are loved and safe with us. The offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together or lighting our chalice. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together, to help our community, and to say yes to the values of our faith.
Much earlier in the abortion wars, some years ago, and updated to our current time, that asks a very specific, asks and responds to a very specific question. Now, I was born in West Virginia, a state where men are men. Most folks call me Senator, but you can call me Jim or Coach. I've served this state for many years. I'm going to change that pitch on the next verse. I've served this state for many years. Ask baby dog what I've done. And I supported right to life in 2021. I got up the next morning to have some time to think. My stomach felt real queasy, like I'd had too much to drink. My chest felt kind of funny, yet it was tender to the touch. There sure was something different, but I never guessed how much. Well, the mornings got just awful, and I'd get to work real late. The senators would laugh and say, "Hey, ain't you put on weight?" My feet got sore and swollen. My pants all fit too tight. And I swear that something kicked me in the middle of the night. So I went to see my doctor. I was feeling old and tired. He poked me up and down, and then he looked me long and hard. He said, "Well, we've got a problem, just speaking among us men. I'm going to make you an appointment with an OBGYN. Well, I didn't get excited. No, I didn't scream or shout. I said, "Doc, you make arrangements and we'll straighten this thing out. I'm just too old and ugly to be some child's pa or ma." He said, "I'd sure like to help you, but you know the law's the law." Well, I begged him and I pleaded and I fell down on my knees. I said, "Doc, this here's my body. Can I treat it like I please?" He said, "I'd sure like to help you 'cause I know you're in a fix. But, you know, that vote comes around again in 2026.
I love this congregation. I was sitting on a front porch on Lee Street Thursday, taking a break and doom scrolling, when I looked up. And I assume grandmother of about 50, her 20-something daughter, and a boy or two were parked across the street waiting for someone else. On the East End, we have the sunny side of the street, just like the song from Louis Armstrong, and the cold side. On the cold side, they still had snow on the roofs and walks, whereas the sunny side was warm and snow-free. Well, as I sat on the sunny side looking across the street, an older woman in a wheelchair rolled up the sidewalk and hit a patch of snow and ice and got stuck right by the front of the minivan that family was in. Both women jumped out instantly without missing a beat to help. I stood up to see if I could too, but they had it. They got the other woman righted, kicked the snow block into the street, and got her on her way. It didn't matter that they were black and the woman in the chair was white. They didn't ask how she voted. They saw a need and jumped up to help. I did go up to them afterward to say thank you for being good humans. And I surprised myself by choking up a little as I said it. Tears kind of welled up. The driver said, "I'd hope someone would help my grandmother if it happened to her." I replied, "They will now." These last 2 weeks have been filled with intentional shock and awe. And that afternoon, we were still learning about the tragedy of the air collision in D.C. My friends have been freaking out, and I haven't been doing too well myself. And as I thought about what I just watched and my emotional response to watching this scene unfold, I thought, well, any of us would have done the same. Then it hit me. Yes, any of us would have. That need to react with kindness and caring is basic in humanity. It doesn't matter what our differences are. When we see a need, we jump up and help. If you, like me and so many others, are reeling from the awful things both our administrations are doing, take the next few minutes to think about all the good humans we live with, those in our community and beyond, those who are doing what they can to resist and to deny those in power and to defend those who need it and to depose the oligarchs who have seized power. There are good humans all around us helping, just as any of us would. And now I'd like to bring up my friend, our congregational administrator, Sarah Stone.
Good morning. I wasn't trying to run, I was looking for a tissue. Every time I come up here, doesn't matter what I talk about, I cry. I was trying to be proactive. Sorry. Thank you. Good morning, happy February. How long was January? So we needed a change. We needed to jump out of January and into February to celebrate Black History Month. It's also the month of love, and I could have sworn the month of fertility. But when I Googled it, I learned about a Luperca. The Lupercal was a pastoral festival, ancient Rome observed annually on February 15th to purify the city, promoting health and fertility. You'll have to look that up yourself, because the more I looked, it was incredibly violent and awful, and I was really sad that I looked it up. So I stopped reading, decided to tell you guys to look it up on your own if you want to, And I will choose to hold on to the reason I thought that February was the month of fertility, which is about love and growth and birth and creation. The topic of fertility, hold on. Nervous. The topic of fertility can be a bit heavy sometimes and certainly awkward. How many of you had almost no sex education? The one that I had didn't prepare me for our fertility journey, that I can tell you. Do some of you guys realize how an incredible amount of magic has to happen to create life? It almost requires a magic wand. I think the general thing they told us when I was in 5th grade, we had to have like the permission slip signed. It was like, if you have sex, you're going to have babies and possibly die. You know? Get some unknown illness. So I knew from a young age that I wanted to be a parent, a mom. I liked children, and I was pretty skilled at like finding out what their needs were and being prepared. And it gave me like a big heart when a child found comfort in me, and they normally did. Kids think I'm fun. My 18-year-old niece still thinks I'm cool, you know. And my mom always thought, well, she'll grow up to be a teacher, or certainly she'll have some career that like places her around children. That is not the turn that my life took. At a very young age, I turned to drug use and chaotic use dictated my life until I was in my 30s. When I was in my mid-30s, I figured out and started to find a way to like live a life that was like good and could, you know, maybe have some children in it. During my using years, I did have a couple of miscarriages, and despite the condition that my life was in at that time, it still very much so broke my heart because it made me think about the life that I thought I would have, and it made me grieve that. Eventually, I did get grounded into recovery when I turned 34. I found several communities, this one in 12-step, and like community organizations that provide me a ton of love and support. And I started to build the life that I know. I found a fine-looking man who treats me right. I put in here, moves eyebrows up and down. At this point, I was 37 years old, and we started discussing having a family. Our first pregnancy came relatively fast, and I was super thrilled. I was so thrilled that I was speaking at a Narcotics Anonymous event in front of like 110 people, and I told them all that we were going to have a baby. And then I had to have several individual conversations when people came up and said, you know, how's it going? How's the pregnancy going? And I had to say I had a miscarriage over and over and over again. That felt like a big lesson to me. And then I had several more miscarriages over the next 2 years. My husband and I were thinking last night, like, how many was it? And we think it was 3, possibly 4, over the span of 2.5 years. And these back-to-back losses, coupled with my age, they called it geriatric pregnancies, did not leave me feeling very hopeful, but it didn't stop us from trying. One of the most isolating life events to happen to me in this process was trying to conceive. It was so isolating that I was able to create enemies in my own head. No one else knew about them. Enemies of friends. The voice in my head that talks to me in my own voice, saying some of the most critical things. Being hard on myself for all the leading up tos. You know, well, if you hadn't lived this way, you know, things might look differently. Feeling unwarranted shame for myself, feeling like my body was betraying my heart over and over. All of my peers were parents, and here I am, everyone's favorite aunt. And I was always in charge of the baby showers, you know what I mean? Like, can you have us a baby shower? And I'm like, no, you know. Everyone's favorite aunt, and let's be real, I am a really cool aunt. I'll always be grateful for my friend Emily, who pointed out to me that this thing has a hold of you. This infertility was something that I was treating differently than I had anything else in my life. I was holding on to it, and like I was keeping a sick secret, and it was making me sick. I heard her, and I started sharing my journey with everybody. It was a very painful decision to make. Here is the post that I made. I got to go back into Facebook and look at that turning point for me. Here's the post that I made that made me change the way I was processing. What makes me feel so isolated during these times is, for whatever reason, women don't talk about their infertility issues out loud, as if there's some sort of shame attached to it. Am I less of a woman? Can't really lose something that never was. I'm not sure of the reason, but I do say that it exists. Does it make society uncomfortable? Do you not know what to say? It made me buy Michelle Obama's book, Becoming, because she speaks openly about having multiple miscarriages, and that felt very empowering to me. During this time of hope lost, a lot of things happen. There is a grieving period, as with any loss, 5 stages of grief in any order, multiple times over and over, along with a huge hormone change. This kind of loss, twice in 12 months, feels pretty cruel. But it's not. I haven't been slighted. It's just life. My heart and mind are capable of being a mom, but my body is not. That doesn't feel okay, but it is. So for me, and this is only me, different people need different things. As my friends, I just hope that you're supportive and letting me feel however I need to feel. Please don't tell me how fair it is. That only makes me feel more slighted, and I'm not. And our responsibility as a family is to do whatever we need to do mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally that makes us healthy, to make good decisions for ourselves and to continue to support one another. This is just another thing that happens to a lot of people. We are not different. I had let myself get separated from people. I felt different than them. I had a really big problem that they couldn't relate to. And once I had opened myself up, I found my people, and then more people, and then so many people. I was a few months away of turning 39, and I told Emily, once I turn 39, I have to quit. I have to stop trying. I'm not having fun. I just have to give up. And that's actually pretty reasonable considering all the things that we've been through. Life is good to us, careers we both enjoy, recovery, friends, and community and family. We could just be the cool aunt and uncle. We really don't have to do this anymore. The entire process had triggered something, and I was tired. Emily said, before you call it quits, will you just make an appointment with a fertility specialist and just see what happens? Yeah, I'll do that. Terrifying decision to make. The following memories almost feel like a blur to me now. I remember making an appointment for the following month, and they didn't put me on the schedule. And you see, this doctor did not have a practice in West Virginia. He was only here once a month to see patients, and they forgot to schedule me. I was almost 39, and I was going to quit when I turned 39. I remember calling them and getting the news that I wasn't on the schedule, and I just started crying. And the woman who I was speaking to must have really felt my pain because she worked me in the schedule. I got a wonderful doctor, Dr. Yasinkaya, or Dr. Y for short, and his confidence scared the crap out of me. If you do what we tell you to do, then you'll get what you want. Okay, guy. Let's see how this goes. And for the next few months, our lives were a series of miracles and lessons. After that first appointment, we were told that our insurance was going to cover 80% of IVF, which is not bad. So we were off to North Carolina for our big 3-hour appointment. Lots of testing for both of us. They decide, based on that test, are we still good candidates? Am I still going to get what I want? Travis and I arrive at this appointment bright and early, and we get checked in, and the financial manager comes over and says, I know that you thought that your insurance was going to cover 80% of this. Turns out that's not correct. We need $14,025 to get you started. And then another $2,900 in a few weeks if things go well. That's fantastic news, you know? What do I do? So I call home, I get some encouragement, and in that moment, we decided to trust God. Let's do this appointment, and then we have the weekend to figure it out, and they agreed. Our friends and family got to work that day while Travis and I faced a battery of uncomfortable testing and got way too much education to sink in. My mom bought us some time by promising some money, and our dear friends Emily and Stacy started a GoFundMe, which gained thousands of dollars before we got back to West Virginia. That same fundraiser gained $8,000 in just 3 days. And I was looking back in my journal, trying to remember some of this, and like all these fun facts are in there. I'm like, holy crap, $8,000 in 3 days, you know? That's a lot of pressure, you know? We got incredible support from our family and our community. So we shared our journey to everyone. We documented appointments and hopes and fears and percentages. We shared it all, almost everything. During the beginning of the process, my husband got a call from back home, he's from Kansas, that his oldest best friend was sick and in the hospital. He was in liver failure and he was not going to live. So we made a trip to KC as soon as we found out. Travis needed to put his hands and his eyes on his friend. He needed to be with him. And when we arrived, he was indeed sicker than anyone I've ever seen. Travis spent the week helping him in ways that he could and swapping stories as his illness would allow it. In an attempt to make his friend, who we call Bacon, smile, he said, hey, if this whole thing works out and we're able to like have a family, we're going to name our kid after you. And I was like, you didn't consult me, but okay. Not calling that kid Bacon. The smile came. He did get a smile, which is about all he had to offer. We went home with the knowledge that we would need to go back if we wanted to see Bacon alive again within 30 days. A few weeks went by and we got another call. You got to come now or you're going to miss him. And we did miss him by 30 minutes. And Bacon died on November 26, 2019. We were just 30 minutes away. My husband grieved as we continued the grueling process of preparing my body for IVF. Lots of shots and hormones and uncomfortable medical procedures, and I was at the doctor almost every single day. Full of hormones and fear and just not good, you know. But I had learned by that point that my pain shared was pain lessened, and we got incredible support and made friends we never knew we needed. Some of you probably don't know, but part of this process is forcing my body to produce a lot of eggs at one time, and then have them surgically removed, and then some other stuff, and they put it back in. So to get real sciencey, for me, I produced 19 eggs in one cycle, 9 of which fertilized. I'm starting to sound like a chicken a little bit. And the hope is that those fertilized eggs double their cells every day for 5 days, and they make a blastocyst. And on day 5, if it looks good, they freeze it very quickly. So 4 of ours made it to that 5th day. At this point, they took teeny, tiny, and this thing is just, you can't even see it, it's so small. They take a little sliver of that and they put it in a box and they send it to California. And every time I think California, my brain goes, with an aching in my heart. So they sent these to be genetically tested to make sure they had the right amount of chromosomes. And what would have been a 2-week wait for those tests turned into 3 weeks because of the holidays. And a friend had to remind me to get off the couch and shower at one point. I was super down. There was no damn way this was going to happen for us. All of these folks are cheering us on and donating to our GoFundMe. Everyone, but especially us, is going to be let down, and I'm feeling pretty low. We finally get the call from the fertility doctor, the call that we had been waiting for. And it was the same day that they forced me to go see that real anti-abortion doctor to continue the process. So it's just like a Dr. something, Calhoun. And there was just a bunch of just really not cool stuff to end this process. And so I'm in the hospital waiting room waiting to see this guy who I don't love, you know, and they call. And they said, you have 1 normal embryo, but you only need 1. They were like, practice that. You have 1, but you only need 1. It's good, you know. And I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I said, will you tell me the sex? And they said, yeah, it's a girl. What an intense sense of relief with an equally pressured sense. One frozen embryo waiting for me. And so now we're at part 2, getting what feels like my really beat up body ready to receive her back. Lots of shots, lots of procedures, and I won't bore you much longer. On March the 10th, 2020, we were expected back in North Carolina for our transfer. I followed all the old wives' tales, including the one I have to eat an extra large McDonald's fry after the procedure. These things are important. There's a lot of those too. There's a lot of weird things I was eating. This was the moment when I'll stay pregnant. I never have, And just a few days after transfer, the world shut down. COVID was in the United States, and there was an extra blanket of unknowns and anxieties all over everything. Once I had my blood test and was called back to the doctor, I was pregnant, and it worked. Austin's due date was November 26th, 1 year exactly from the day her namesake, Austin Winter, aka Bacon, passed away. There was a lot of what I called God winks in this journey for us, a lot of really hard feelings and a lot of hopelessness and sadness, met with so much support from people I didn't even know I needed it from. Isolation met with light, feeling alone with never alone again. The lesson that I knew and forgot, that pain shared is pain lessened and joy shared is joy multiplied. I think a lot about the condition that our country is in right now, and I think of you, my friends who must feel incredibly isolated and scared and alone. The people they try to separate from the pack. Who are my people when I can't find my people? We're out here. We're ready to share journeys with you. We just have to take a leap of faith and know that our community is there to catch us. I'll tell you one more wink. Travis and I were at IHOP once and my plan was to eat this huge stack of Lucky Charm pancakes, and I'm talking like a stack, and it's got like a ton of bright green icing and a lot of the big Lucky Charms cereal on top of it. And my plan is to eat these pancakes until I felt better. There was this very talkative kid at the table near ours, and he was sharing with his mostly completely quiet family about his favorite things: Area 51, dinosaurs, aliens, Play-Doh, you name it, this kid was interested. It didn't take him very long to notice my stack of very appealing pancakes, and he had questions. He sat with us, and he chatted, and he turned my frown upside down. His family worked really hard to get him away from our table when they were ready. And Travis stuck out his hand. I didn't catch your name, kid. The kiddo grabbed his and shook it. My name's Austin. It's really nice to meet you, and everything's going to be all right. This doesn't really go with the story that I've just told you, but it always does. I worry a lot. I worry a lot about reproductive freedoms. I worry about the careless way in which lawmakers create laws that impact the very souls of people. I worry about families of all shapes and sizes who are harshly affected by erratic decisions that are determined to bring harm to women and our trans siblings. I will continue to commit to fight legislation aimed at people who can become pregnant and to people who are so incredibly harmed by this type of legislation. An attack on reproductive care is an attack on everyone. Sometimes when I look at my daughter, I remember that first woman who worked me into the schedule because of my tears, and I think if it weren't for her kindness, my brilliant, very difficult, beautiful daughter wouldn't be here. She is such a gift. Thanks.
That didn't break you all up. Let's rise in voice, body, or spirit for our final song for all. We are.
universe, who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're makers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe, who we are.
Our closing words today are Loving and Responsible Action by Robert Kaufman. We have come together to share our deepest concerns, speaking and singing words of inspiration and hope. We have committed ourselves to do what we can to ease the burdens of those who suffer, to stand for decency and compassion. We have pledged to work for a more wholesome environment for us and for all the generations that will follow. But these are just words. The hymns we sing are just songs. All our reflections are just idle thoughts. When we convert them all into loving and responsible action throughout the week, then and only then will this morning become what we want it to be, a time of worship.
We shall overcome.
Nobody wants to leave.
You're so